Hi, my name is Vladimir Šimović. I also teach at Zagreb University of Applied Sciences, so that's I'll try to be impartial as much as I can. So the idea was to ask our esteemed guests to maybe introduce themselves and try to maybe reminisce about their youthful days and tell us if they have any connection to gaming whatsoever. Did they like something to play with, etc. So let's start with the lady first. But she can take the mic.
Good afternoon. My name is Marina Klačmer Čalopa, and I'm Dean of the Faculty of Organization and Informatics, University of Zagreb, which is placed in Varaždin. I'm not that generation, actually. I'm a little bit before this new generation with the start with the computer games and everything. But my generation is raised on Tetris, probably, and some other games like this. It's mobile, it's video games, but it's not the modern games like Valorant or something like this. But yes, I played video games like this.
That's nice. Let's continue with Zagreb University of Applied Sciences.
Hello, my name is Petar Jandric. I'm from the Zagreb University of Applied Sciences. I used to play many games when I was a kid, really, from Tetris, Pac-Man, then of course all these versions of Solitaire and whatsoever. And then actually I used to have this Commodore 64. And then after the Commodore 64, I went to Atari, and then after Atari, I went to my first PC. And then on my first PC, I started playing a bit more complex games. So I kind of started with the age of those modern games that people are playing today, but not really much, because back in the day, I was already a student, and I was kind of had some other preoccupations.
Hi. Hi, I'm Hrvoje. And then it goes, and I'm an alcoholic.
Wow. PR.
I'm just joking. So, my name is Hrvoje Balen. I'm the president of the management board of University Algebra. Actually, one of the co-founders, so being here for 26 years, the last 26 years. And when we talk about the games, I'm also the one who was raised on Commodore 64 and Amiga, and then on PC, which had a sign 8088. So my games were at that time maybe, like all of you said, Tetris and Sokoban, Prince of Persia, and then what I was really in love with was Monkey Island. And except Monkey Island, there was Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. So I liked adventures. And there was a funny game called, I think, Leisure Suit Larry.
Oh, yeah.
That was, that was the one. So my gaming didn't continue after I graduated from the university, and I stopped there. Somehow I skipped, well, maybe some simulators. I was playing some simulators at the time, and SimCity. That was something very interesting. I was never on a mobile games, and I'm not very much a fan of mobile games. I don't know, but I took some part when we were creating the university program for gaming, but not on the expert level, but just as the, let's say, the user.
So it's not that we're keeping score about Algebra on the first round. Those are great.
Don't go there.
Great games.
Don't go there.
Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry. Wow. I think it's the first time engineers had a chance to train how to attract girlfriends, potential ones. So yeah, the reason why we invited representatives of these three universities now and universities of applied sciences, let's call them, is as a company we're organizing a collegiate tournament, specifically student esports tournament, and all of these representatives are representatives of universities that have won it. So again, not keeping score, Zagreb University of Applied Sciences won set for the first three iterations, season 1, 2, and 3. Then came Algebra, and now currently Faculty of Information and Organization of Information, from Varaždin. So congrats to everyone, and I'm going to ask you to clap for all of them now, and their students. Good job, Vika. But before we delve into esports, I'd say it's a new development for Croatia. Let's talk about gaming and game dev. Because I think it's at a higher level than esports in this industry, which is very small here in Croatia. So, as we said, the game dev industry in Croatia as well is on the rise. My personal assessment is it's not as developed as in, for example, in Serbia, but it's gaining traction. Do your universities have any initiatives, educational ones or otherwise, to, let's say, prepare new generation of students for such, let's say, job opportunities in that industry? So let's start with the lady again.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we early recognized the potential of this industry and actually revising our study programs 2 years ago. So we introduced a new model on the undergraduate level in IT studies, and this new model is a model called in the field of network systems and computers games. And actually includes all connected and the different kind of courses connected with developing and the design of computer games. So I think that we early started to recognizing all the important things of this study program. And actually at the moment we have a few projects connected with the computer games through which we actually developing and a new study programs and lifelong learning programs in design and developing computer games. And I think that I have to say that 4 or 5 years ago, our students actually recognized this field and started to go and starting to do these computer games as experts. That's also very important.
Let's continue with the man on the left.
Thank you. So we started with a master's program at the graduate level 6 years ago, and our idea was to offer something to software engineers that are already skilled in programming, and it went really well. But the pressure of time showed that the kids, so the young people, are eager on computer game development, and they were pushing us to say, okay, why don't you offer something on an undergraduate level? So our graduate level program was actually the computer game development. And then 2 years ago, we started developing program for undergraduate, and last year we started with the undergraduate program in computer game development, I'm sorry. And it was the first program that we produced in 4+1 format. Usually we had 3+2 undergraduate 3 years and graduate 2 years, and this was the first one that we created this way. Of course, we were following what the job market, people would like to say job market, I'm not very fond of that word, job market, but what the employers were looking for, not just here, but also abroad, not in Croatia. And that's how we created the program with the assistance of those companies working in the game development. And the idea of 4 years was because the program is interdisciplinary. It's not just one, it's not just computer science, it's not just design. But on the other hand, we created side programs, which are not side programs, but full-fledged programs in multimedia production and design or 3D design. So these are the 3 undergraduate programs that are really very compatible with the job placements in computer game development. So we are picking all the people together, so young people are, when they will start working on their 3rd year, we try to combine them in different teams so they get to know each other and get an idea how to work with people who are a different mindset, because not everybody is the same mindset. When I was at the university and I was studying at Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computing here, FER, in Zagreb, then we were very all the same. Everybody was the same. We didn't understand the people across the street. So the people from the University of Philosophy, Faculty of Philosophy, or I don't know what's the name in English. So we didn't quite understand. So this is the idea of our undergraduate program, to get people all together, because designers will have to work with developers will have to work with the artists will have to work with people from marketing, somebody will have to sell the game, and that's the idea how the program started. It started really very well last year. We had the first small group made out of 35 individuals. This year it's going to be much more. I think it's going to double at the end of the enrollment process. And we're quite satisfied with that. And for the first time in February, we had a big fair here, so job fair here at the Algebra University. And also had a large conference. We had very good guests. For instance, John Romero was here. I think you were here also when he was here, and he had his also opinion on the program. He said, well, this is quite a fascinating and quality program that I could use also if I was here, but I wasn't. So we are very looking forward to the future, what's going to bring, and definitely the future of the game industry is something that we can rely on as a nation, as a Croatia, definitely, because we have a very good heritage from the designer side. For instance, the Zagreb film, the school of film, animated film, was very famous throughout the Europe. People from that Zagreb school were very good animators, and they won actually some Oscars, Academy Award. And this is the legacy we can offer. Maybe we cannot offer thousands and millions of software developers, programmers like India or Sri Lanka or China can, but we can maybe offer something that is more creative, and the game development definitely is creative.
Well, Zagreb University of Applied Sciences actually has quite a similar approach. Of course, not exactly the same. We also have models in things like video games development and 3D modeling and these kind of things. But actually, the idea really is, since the gaming industry changes so quickly, and because of all the different genres and types of gaming, for instance, serious games, should be mentioned here as well. We actually have a lot of gaming connected stuff like intercurricular activities. So for instance, we have a big school of design, and yes, we also have multimedia and video production and these kind of things. And actually all these students are offered modules and parts of modules which are very much connected to gaming. But again, it's not necessarily about gaming per se. It's also about things like, so if somebody is studying something like 3D modeling, it can be used in gaming, but of course it can be used in other contexts as well. And this is what we believe is really important. And now we are doing a revamp of our study programs as well. And this is what we are doing. What we think is really important is to offer something that's creative, that's interdisciplinary, that's programs which actually prepare students and prepare young people to work in the workforce for the next 40 years. Because the problem is that when you graduate at 25, you actually retire at 67. Now, if you specialize in something which is very contemporary or something which is a fad, something which doesn't exist in 10 years from now, then you have a problem. So we have to strike a good balance between those more general this more general knowledge and this more specific knowledge. So we are trying to offer as much of this general knowledge, which includes gaming, and then offer specialized things to students who are interested in those things. I would also like to say that we don't just teach students to do those things. We, almost 10 years ago, actually, we had a European project which was connected with serious gaming. So if some of you went on Erasmus, for instance, it was a consortium of 5 countries, and we actually developed a serious game. So basically students who went to Erasmus would, as a part of their feedback when they come back to the institution, instead of doing a questionnaire, they would actually play a game, which was it was called Are You EU? It was about European identity. And actually the thing is that through gaming, European Commission was gathering, harvesting really data about student experience during their Erasmus exchanges. So I think it's also very important to say that gaming is a very diverse thing. Of course, Now we are talking about games with tournaments, about esports, about all those things. But actually serious games are very important. Then there's some other types of gaming which are being used in certain contexts, which are perhaps, then there's things like simulations, things like, and all those kind of things really require slightly different knowledge. And yeah, and again, we kind of hesitate to provide this totally specific knowledge to our students and to say, well, now you will graduate in some very small part. Instead, we are trying to create a complete information scientist or information and communication scientists, people who are actually able to work across the board, people who are able to change their careers, people who are able to move from one thing to another. I would also like to mention connection with the industry as well, which I think is hugely important. And again, so we have, for instance, many dissertations and final theses which are connected to gaming. Educational games are quite important here as well. And I mean, I think that probably all universities these days have a lot of this mobile stuff, programming for mobile applications and these kind of things. And of course, this is also something that's really connected with those things, with gaming and so on. So this is the rough overview. Actually, when you take a look at our programs, you will see quite a lot of gaming, but you need to take a look a bit deeper, because we will not have a degree in gaming, because this is not the strategic direction that we are aiming at.
Thank you. So considering, let's say, the dynamics of game dev market and its constant evolution, do you, for example, at Algebra, considering you just became a university recently, do you see an uptick in gaming-related research, perhaps, because you have such a study? Do you see teachers, educators maybe orienting that way for in their research, not just in teaching currently?
Yes, of course. Well, that's part of our mission. We have to follow that, not just through the education, but also through the science. And that will, let's say, heavily push us in the next few years. So we are, as you said, a new university. We used to be University College, and now we are accredited as the university. So we have to do and invest a lot of time and a lot of effort in science. And the gaming is a very fruitful ground where you can explore many things. Of course, like Petar said, for instance, serious gaming, people are not thinking much about gaming in the serious gaming or gaming as an educational vehicle. That's also something very important. But what I would say, from the perspective of the gaming, I completely agree that the gaming doesn't stop at the undergraduate and graduate level, and that it's necessary to have the pathway for people who are lifelong learners, because that will change. Definitely what we see today, it's not something that's going to work tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or maybe in a few years. So we're also relying a lot on lifelong learning. Well, we as the university started one day 26 years ago, we started as a lifelong learning institution, actually. So we did the opposite way. We didn't start with the university programs and then go to the lifelong learning, but we went from lifelong learning to the university program. I think we are unique in this part of Europe, like we started, but that's okay. Different times, different measures. What I see also in the future, that things will actually need some kind of specialization, I would say, or maybe proficiency in some things. I know that some of our teachers are specialized in creating fire, like fire in the games, or the hair, specialist for hair or for grass. And if you want to look and work in the industry, which is high-end industry, you have to. I agree. If you want to work as a generalist, you are not allowed to be too special. But if you want to work in the first league, like the NBA or anything like that, in the game development, you will have to be specialized for something. Few days ago, we had a promotion for our graduates. And one of our guests was my friend Damian Rudeš, who used to play in the NBA. And he's my neighbor also. I know him when he was a little guy. And he told one great story when he was playing in basketball in Spain. And the guy said, well, I was great. I did 20 points on each game. I was always a starter, but nobody asked me. I was not playing for Barcelona, Real, or even for NBA team. But somebody said to me, well, you're not now for draft. And then he said, okay, I'll be specialized in something. And he said, I'll be specialized in 3-point shooters. And he started training 3-point shooters, until he had 80% of success in 3-point shooters in the game, actually. And that lasted for 1 year. And then after 1 year, somebody called and said, Guy, like you are for our draft, I would like to have you here in the Indiana Pacers. So, of course, if you want to play here in our domestic league, which doesn't exist as a domestic league because everybody's playing on the international market, if you are a game development studio, you want to sell not just in Croatia, you want to sell around Europe, you want to sell all around the world. So you have to be specialized for something, but maybe not in the first years. When you reach when you reach something, so you reach one of your peaks, let's say, after a few years working in industry, and then you say, I'll be specialized for something. And that's where the lifelong learning comes into. So the lifelong learning is very affordable and accessible right now. And so my saying would be, okay, do something first and then get specialized for something. If it's a game development, game design, whatever it is, do some specialization if you want to go up to the top market, like also would say our friend Romero, like he said, you have to be specialized for something, and as we see in the sports also, it's the same situation.
Marina, is it a challenge for faculty that's part of a university to be as mobile, as agile in developing such studies as, for example, Algebra or even Zagreb University of Applied Sciences that's not that connected to the university, if I understand correctly?
It is always a challenging thing, because especially in public academic sector. So I think that we need to be more flexible for a new study program and to be a little bit more mobile, actually more mobile and more adaptive, and in this process actually FOI with some other institution in public sector from University of Zagreb developed and designed some new study program in video games, but still we didn't have a chance to put them in the process because of the university level and ministry level and some other agency level. And so it's a little bit different than in private sector, but we do our best through some short lifelong learning programs and doing our best with these intensive programs, which we have more flexibility than in some other study program. So it's always challenging on this national level, but actually we have this chance to do our courses through one of the model. Yeah.
Cool. Let's dwell a bit into collegiate esports finally. So, as I said, as an institution, how do you approach participation in collegiate esports? I'm asking that from a perspective of something new. I mean, collegiate sports isn't something new. Is it the same approach? Do you see maybe, I would say it's fair to describe all three universities as maybe closer to the tech industry, which esports is more than regular sports. So it's something that you see as a closer thing, or do you look at it the same way, or what's your take? I don't know. Let's start with Petar so I can give him a microphone.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's really a mixed bag. I mean, we are working in informatics, in information science. We are really used to new things. So 20 or 30 years ago, everybody was speaking about e-business, So now everybody's doing e-business and it's not new anymore. Now there's e-sports, e-learning. There was a big thing about e-learning like 20 years ago as well. And we all did those things together. But before I answer this question, I would just quickly like to reply to one of the previous questions when you asked about research in gaming. Actually, there's been a lot of good research in gaming since early on, since late 1990s and early 2000s, all across Croatia and all across our institutions. I personally worked with Goran Bubaš in late 1990s, early 2000s on some projects which are directly connected to gaming. Algebra, well, I can say that I know you guys longer than I know my wife, really. So we did our first project 20 years ago. At the time I was working with Tomislav Dominkovic. I was never employed by Algebra, but this place it does not just feel like home. This is real proper home for me. I mean, I've been constantly, on and off, of course, collaborating with Algebra for 20 years now, exactly 20 years. This year is the 20th anniversary. Some amazing stuff in terms of educational projects that are not a part of Algebra University, but they're part of this other part of Algebra that we actually have done over the years. Some amazing projects. I need to mention Zoran Jančić from Algebra because he's just amazing here. I did my own share of work a bit in gaming development, and it was just polite to say one person from each institution, but basically there's plenty more. What I want to say is that our institutions are small. Croatia is a small country. We maybe appear at the surface like kind of competitors, but we are really actually not competitors because it's too small, the country is too small, the place is too small. Everybody actually collaborates or has collaborated or will collaborate with everybody at some point because this is just the fact. So I think that in terms of supporting eSport, I think that we are following probably the same route. One route is that our PE, physical education teachers have taken up a part of this. So because they already take care about various sports competitions, so they included esports competitions in their, let's say, portfolio as well. But then there is this collaboration with industry part, which is really important. And I know that all three universities here, not just Zagreb University of Applied Sciences, again, has a very, very good connections with the industry. I would like to mention one thing which I also forgot a bit earlier. Actually, next week we have a small conference here in Zagreb organized by my university. And what's interesting that we have 3 guests from China, and we have actually there's an international design competition, which is not a gaming competition per se, but one of the tracks is about gaming, and it's one of the biggest tracks about gaming. So now our students, we are hosting a regional competition of Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro, Slovenia, and so on. And the winning team will actually go to China and spend 2 months in Beijing and work internationally with people from the whole world, again, on some teams connected to gaming. So collaboration goes within Croatia, collaboration goes all over the world. It's not just America, it's not just Europe, it's also China, it's also Far East, it's many, many, many different places. And again, why I'm speaking about all that, because basically when we talk about these things with our colleagues from China, they will tell you very similar things. Yeah, we have esports, we kind of, in terms of paperwork, documentation, and so on, we kind of equalize those things so that we recognize, winning a gaming tournament in the same way like winning a basketball tournament or something else. We do support this. I have a list here of competitions where our students are participating, and actually they have won some of these, but it's now really not important where and how. But the thing is that there is even a piece with budget, which I should probably not have printed out, but just the fact that it was on the piece of paper, so I just hit print. So we do invest money in that. We have student representatives, we have people who lead those things at various levels, gaming coordinators and so on and so on. And we are trying to institutionalize this a bit. Now again, we are a public university, public Sveučilište, University of Applied Sciences, which is like or university college, so we are not a university in the same sense as those two here are, but we are public, and in this sense we are closer to FOI than to Algebra. And yes, there is of course a problem when you want to institutionalize a role of a gaming whatever, because simply you won't get the money from the ministry from this so easily. So many of these people volunteer, or many of these people don't get perhaps paid or don't get paid enough for those things and so on. But if you compare those things with perhaps the state of the art 5 or 10 years ago, it's definitely growing, it's definitely getting better, and it's definitely getting institutionalized. I can guarantee, because in my vice dean position, one of my main purviews is these beautiful things about accreditations and quality and documentation. So I can guarantee you that gaming is involved in all our strategic documents and stuff like that. And so it is there. Now, of course, it will take a bit longer to get it fully recognized. But then again, I mean, e-learning was not recognized. When Tomislav Dominkovic came to me 20 years ago and said, okay, man, let's do something e-learning online, I said, what? You know, and there was this dial-up modems, like you would take the phone, the big phone. And
I'm sure the people do not know what's dial-up modem
and
here
then
in this room.
And then you would connect. And of course it was a problem because you could not stream multimedia for that. So we were very restricted technically, and we were very restricted in terms of what people actually recognition and everything. But now, when you do a Zoom lecture, when you do a Teams lecture, nobody cares. I mean, it's the same. So I think that with time it will be, I think that you made a good choice in terms of institutions that you will invite, because I do believe, now my institution excluded because I don't want to sound too vain, but I do think that those are leading institutions in Croatia. So basically what we do is probably something that's going to be followed by others in the years to come.
Marina, do you have anything to add?
Hardly.
It's hard to beat that.
It's hard to, hardly. Yeah, but I have to say that we also recognize this in the early stage of esports at the Faculty of Organization and Informatics, and we try to put some efforts, operational and financial, to support the students as much we can. So that's very important, and actually they are organized. They have some kind of mentor at the institutional level, and they have some kind of mentor on student level, and we give them all the support we can. We promoted them, we organize the meetings with them, we actually celebrate with them each success they have. So. And I think that nearly in the future we will try to put some effort in organize some kind of infrastructure to do the best. It's not so easy because of the space and everything, but also money and financial. But still we will put all the efforts in this also. Yeah.
So we, for our student esports tournament, we have been known to invite professors to talk to us on stream, and on one of those occasions we had a professor from Zagreb University of Applied Sciences, and we were just talking, and then I accidentally found out we have a computer lab with 12307 graphics cards that at that time were very expensive, and I'm telling him, how do I know that just now? Oh, it's an AI lab. And I thought to myself, great, that's the common infrastructure for such projects. That's also could be benefit for, let's say, esports infrastructure. So it's one way of maybe selling that pill to someone higher up.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to say anything after my colleagues said everything, but I always ask myself two questions. When we talk about now it's game development, and you inspired me, Petar, by saying about something about e-learning and distance learning and all. And what I ask myself is always, why should anybody, a young person, go to university or to university college to be trained or to know something more about game development or any other thing? So we are living in a very interesting time. Actually, trust me, you don't need a diploma. Nobody needs a diploma at the moment. Nobody needs a higher educated diploma or graduate diploma or master's, PhD. You don't need it now at the moment. So I always ask myself, what can we offer differently from what's being offered on Coursera or on different platforms? And that's how we create our programs, and saying by that. And the other thing that also both of you inspired me was the fact that we are definitely not competitors, because we are all together fighting for people who are not existing here anymore in Croatia. I know my friend Nikola is watching me now, and what I will say, but I took I looked at some lists that are publicly available on web about the people who are enrolling now at the universities. For instance, one of the largest universities in Zagreb, your faculty, Nikola, at the moment has a quota of 980, and it's completely free for somebody who wants to enroll. They have barely over 600 first choices. And it's free for them.
Faculty of Economics.
I didn't say that.
I did.
But that's the problem why we have to collaborate. Yeah. We have to cooperate, we have to collaborate. We don't have enough material or enough people to supply skilled people, motivated people to the companies that will work here in Croatia. That's one of the reasons we started working in English. So we are teaching everything in English. We are not teaching, for instance, the game development is not being taught in Croatian, but in English. So Croatian students and foreign students are coming here and learning in English. That's one of the way. And always motivating all the institutions how to start teaching in English, because that's the way how we as a Croatia can become more popular among students from abroad to come here. That's how we get attraction, to be a destination, to get here and study. Because life here is, I don't know if you agree, but life here is much nicer than life in many other, let's call them popular countries. Especially if you are some kind of an artist, and if you work in the game industry, you have to be something in between art and development, and that's something you can get. So I would say that the cooperation is something really that mark us, and like you said, from the history, we had a great cooperation also with FOI on many projects, with TVZ on many projects, and we have to work like that, because we are doomed to be what we can be the best in our area, and the area is not Croatia. And many times I say there is no more Croatian job market. People, when I hear politicians and people talking about Croatian job market, I say, my God, that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist for 11 years now, and especially when we entered down Schengen. And looking for businesses, so the game development studios are not working for Croatian market. Nobody is working for Croatian market. Can you imagine how would Leisure Suit Larry look for Croatian market? That would be very interesting. But we didn't introduce, we introduced ourselves, but we didn't introduce you. I don't know. Are any students here, as people who are students?
Raise your hand if you're a student.
Oh, do we have game developers or game designers? Well, I don't know the audience. Enthusiasts.
It's a Tuesday. They're probably working. Yeah.
They're not working the night shift. Yeah. Okay. So that's why we have to cooperate, and that's a great thing about us, from especially so the institutions from the technical digital side. We used to work for 20-25 years. We are not as some other maybe institutions who are not in this digital attack, where they compete constantly. They compete over the small basement of the small pool of the people that live here. And that's, I think, I hope this will be a path to success of our institutions and the country itself, because I spend also a lot of time in creating better business environment for the companies to come here and spend. I have other hat, which is the president of the ICT Association and the Croatian Employers Association, and we are working on so many aspects to assist the game development industry to be here, where the latest one is the double treaty tax agreement between Croatia and United States. We are, I think, one of the last European countries that don't have that, and it's very important for the gaming industry. So Croatian gaming industry is fleeing away from Croatia because they want to avoid the tax. The taxes, withhold taxes, about 30%. So it's not very popular to export from Croatia to United States, and that's, I hope, will all help us to attract also the people. So the ecosystem is very important for all of us. If we do have an ecosystem here in Croatia, then we are more attractive for people coming from abroad.
Yeah, student esports tournament that we organize is nothing without students. It's also nothing without institutional support that all your institutions give us. So thank you for that. I was quite nervous that we didn't have enough questions for this panel, but it turns out we did, so that's good. Thank you, Petar. So I'll ask everyone that's here to maybe, if you're interested, try to approach us in the break and maybe continue this discussion later. That's it. I'll refer back to Sansan.